Good morning. As we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, um, Monday morning, May 6th, year 2024, here with the Hello Loshon. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Loshon that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept called public access, rightfully so, as we see, I hate to say results, but the outcome of this wonderful effort and this wonderful reality being made available, and for us to thrive the way we do. And of course, many people involved in this process for the longest time possible. So, in the same token, wanted to mention that as we speak, the show by Matt Rayner is up and running. I wanted to thank my friend Chris Lecur for helping me curating and just for being a wonderful contributor to the demeanor of the artistic community here at the East End of Long Island. As he runs and operates the uh, gallery in Montauk, the Lecur Gallery, and doing it in a relentless fashion. If we can see results by showing many artists, and I'm actually feeling privileged to be a part of a small group show that he's going to put together this coming summer. So yes, with Matt Rayner, we are going to have the opening this coming Friday, May 10th, from 3 to 7, and that's a I think a wonderful show, um, and beautiful and powerful and colorful and sophisticated. So I'm sure you will have no difficulty to appreciate it. And also at LTV, the show is up as we speak. LTV is open Monday to Friday, um, 9 to 5 p.m. So you're more than welcome on if you're around Wainscott, or if you want to make a special trip. We're located literally parallel to the runway of East Hampton Airport, 75 Industrial Road in Wainscott. You can't miss it, so you're more than welcome. And if you come to check the show, you'll be able also to maybe acquire about the concept of public access and how it is that you can get involved and find out how easy it is for you to get involved. A lot of people, yeah, a lot of people, I can't say a lot of people, just people ask me. So this is kind of my coffee, my morning coffee, because they genuinely want to know about not only what initiates or initiated that which kind of makes you be able to not only express yourself and become a part of this concept called public access, but that you will be able to have so much to say. Um, if it's an interview, very easy to find yourself repeating yourself, asking same questions, or asking questions for that sake, because I'm kind of more used to create an environment of that kind of chat like environment that is based on interactions that is quickly enough becoming um, um, consistent and therefore flawless. And then you realize how meaning accumulates itself to become something that is makes it feel as if it's a just very friendly, appealing tool in the hands of the observer, in the hands of the listener. Once you reach this point, you feel like so much contents are coming to the surface. I have some people who refer to that and say, where is it coming from? We have the willing to express ourselves. Most of the time, we'll be dumbfounded in front of the microphone or the camera. We have a lot to offer and to introduce and to share, but most of the time we'll find ourselves maybe very exposed in front of that white canvas that turned out to be something powerful, maybe more powerful than you thought it would be. It's easy for me to sit here and talk to you about how easy it was for me to get rid of this aspect that, I found myself silent in front of the white canvas, and I realized, well, maybe there is maybe it is called for to prolong the period where you wait and see. Nothing comes to your head, nothing comes to mind. You can't just send your hands forward and make them do the work and assume that it's going to be done. A lot of unfamiliar territory and a lot of confusion on behalf on how to go about going through all this, and then finding myself in front of the task itself that actually, in more ways than one, dictates the nature of that engagement ahead of time. And if you have a hard time with this, which I did, that will spell a delay in your journey of exploration and hopefully earlier resolution than that, with just not that much more than we should have to be considered as a prize, but still nevertheless finding yourself on the other end, kind of rejuvenated. You look back and you already notice a deposit of a results of goodwill long before you have time or even thought to go through the finding out of that smartness or that uniqueness or that sharpness, or that lead to enlightenments and revelations. And you know how it is that sometimes you listen to someone talking about something, and then you ending up staying for the long run and realizing that the world has a lot to offer, and the average person there maybe is smarter than we think. And no, and then quickly enough you use the word maybe, definitely smarter than you think, than we think. And the evolutionary process of the immediate surrounding called our neighborhood, our immediate place of where we spend our lives and raise our families. Undercurrent of that will be the genuine aspect of art that you say. The other day I found myself in my studio. Yeah, sometimes I catch myself saying that to a friend or something, or I just spent 5 hours in the studio. It did happen to me here and there. And I always realize that I really don't like hearing myself sharing this information, because it just sounded just a waste of energy. Why would I want to go to anyone and tell them that I spend that much time in the studio? There's something special about it to me that I need to kind of spend more time with, enjoy it, and benefit from it, rather than seek externalizing that information to the world. I did share with my friends, especially my artist friends, uh, a lot, many times, frequently, often. Maybe to a point that they would say, maybe kind of step back a little bit here. But my point was that there is a room that will there is an angle to look at it that will give us a sense of realization that this that we're trying to brush aside is actually very important, very vital, and maybe we should even fight for it and insist that this is what we want to send forth. This is what we think that we have to give back. Because obviously, we always get to where we need to get to where we are, knowing that we got a lot of help from people directly or indirectly. And if we're, if we have it within us to thank the source itself, and to thank strangers, because you want to tell them, listen, I see where you're at, and let me just give you this or tell you this, and it will save you a lot of hassle. Because I know that your journey is a lifetime journey, then it's worth it to try and rid of these kind of uh, energy draining factors. Put it aside and then spare yourself from so much time that will be robbed from you and deprived from the process to have all these wonderful energies available. Because once you engage, those energies are they're ready. They're ready to play. Those forces. It's all about games. That's why I have to invent my. That's why I really like. I discovered it by mistake that actually adapting a mood of playing games and then it becomes head games because you want to be kind of spiteful, or maybe challenging, or maybe um, um, controversial. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to send across. And I realized it. I realized it by mistake because I thought that this can serve as a tool. What if I can just make believe here, but still, nevertheless, be standing in front of the canvas? That's something I asked myself early because I didn't know anything about painting, and I was supposedly already soaked with it, with this reality in a disproportional fashion. I didn't think I thought it won't work for me. It will work against me, so I need to address it right away, which I did. And so I said, what is it that needs to be done in addition to just like, which I thought at first that if I only wanted enough and it's a certain way, I'm good to go. I really don't need anything else. But once I reached that, I realized that not before that you get to that point that you realize actually you need more than that. But I was already, when I realized that actually I need more than that, I was already accustomed to asking questions and accustomed to, I don't know if I should say second guess, but maybe make uh, make it to be known that with me it's the long way, it's not the short way. It's the long version, it's not the short version, and um, and that you can quickly enough turn around and see a deposit of of uh, of of a result of an engagement that behind it was a whole world of complexity of a skeleton, of a scheme, of a composition that doesn't have to be so sophisticated, but just the actual structure being put by you, the practical aspect of it, the philosophical aspect of it, and so many other things had to come together in such a perfect timing for that to happen. So there's an appreciation that exceeds art and maybe creates by that, by doing so, another level, another style, another aspect of that art. So suddenly there are multiple sub realities that are being given birth to just by the fact that you as an active artist, of course, uh, putting in place engagements. What does that mean? Okay, you know what? I have a project, but the way I look at it will be just slightly different than you would, and we should wait to see how we can judge the effective the effect of it. And once everything is said and done, and so quickly enough, you will reach the point that everything has been said and done. You look around you and say, okay, well, now I need to really kind of sort through, try to identify what it is that I was hoping for, that I wasn't sure what it really was. And now I'm searching on the behalf of the amount that you neglected to address when you were going through this. I have now to go back to retrace it, to address it, to answer it, to accommodate it, therefore, by the level of my understanding of what really that interaction was all about. And quickly enough, second engagement, you realize, my God, you realize suddenly weird only because you feel more room to breathe. It's awkward suddenly to realize that you can have more room than you need than needing more room just to begin with. So, second engagement, you're just like almost like a veteran of some sort, almost like you achieved a very quick, stealthy kind of camaraderie, a, a short heritage that goes long way into the um, stepping stone that happens to be a stepping stone every time you make a step forward, definitely every time you make a change, definitely every time you break through and kind of reprocess it through the on the through the new level that it's actually representing already. I know it sounds a little complex. What I'm saying now is because it's not that it's so sophisticated. It's just that it's too much information, quickly, fast, and and if it makes you feel good, my might as well just add that most of the time I'm not as scientific as I may sound. Maybe scientific, I mean, socially scientific or spiritually scientific, religiously scientific. Uh, I It's more like being able to identify where are the crucial points that I need to throw my weight into. And if I do it constantly, then the whole structure is actually stable enough to operate on its own. I love the results of what it is that I already achieved already, and what it is that I am hoping and assuming that will take place in the years that I have remaining on planet Earth is a a serious estimation of what it is that we want to get out of it. Because I don't really believe that it's all about the thank you, God, thank you, Mother Nature, for allowing me and for giving me and providing me, uh, approving me wanting to be an artist, me wanting to create, and all these beautiful things. So, yeah, everything is beautiful, but there's a lot of tra la la, too much tra la la, too much. Too much, like, I don't know, back and forthness, because almost that is just becoming so I always felt, yeah, that's how I felt. Like every time I see there's always about something like that. You know what I mean? um Borderline, fluid, gluey, and pasty gluey, kind of, yeah, in between, saying okay, yeah, but you you realize immediately that you stepped up, because you just kind of need to change the style of engagement, because it's just becoming a little too comfortable, a little too obvious, a little too guaranteed, a little too much of a given. You know, so the progress that can take place, and that actually is taking place with certain kind of attitudes, you can achieve so much. You can achieve so much. You can actually define your ability and capability, define it and place it wherever you need it to be placed, and that it is immediately you realize that this is not the territory, the borders that define the territory of art that's actually speaking out loud. Suddenly, that we, so much so that we need to kind of slow down and listen to some kind of as if the walls are talking to us, so to speak, as if as if the our shelter is placing an opinion, and that we will accept it just naturally. That and and then and then, because you're lucky and because you're seasoned, that you got to let it happen, accept it and go through it and keep that straight face scenario, which spells coherence and normalcy and healthy routine and whatnot, because it's going to go away quickly enough. You're going to go back to the heart of where, not only action, but just so like a pure, holy, whole, uh, combination of of a balance that's been achieved just based on goodwill, just straightforward goodwill, just like I want. Oh yeah, I'm in with this, and you're discussing later all the rest of the stuff that usually are like a prerequisites that you have to kind of, this needs to take place before you even get to. Suddenly you realize you're so ahead of yourself, and that it's okay, and that maybe in the past you would have panicked because you would say, I'm going from an unknown to a greater unknown. But no, you know that this is okay. This is okay. You're realizing that wait a second, what did I do? Now there's so much information that you have created that you need to be able to refer to attend to relate to, you know, and the good news, you know how to relate to it, you know how to describe it, you know how to treat it, you know how to use it, you know how to coexist with it, you know how to blend with it, that's the good news. This that has appeared suddenly, maybe not to you suddenly, but to us, the observers, they're suddenly there. Just like sometimes I have solo exhibitions, and a person that knows me and will come to the show and he says, "Yeah, where where did that come from?" People telling me, "I love you and I love your art and it's great, but let me just kind of make a fool of myself and ask you some things that I just don't understand what's going on." And I will welcome these people with all the love that I have and all the consideration that one can have for another person. Because I would be want to thank them for their genuine observation, smart, genuine, balanced, natural observation, because obviously it helps me. It helps me to understand people's understanding, especially if it so happens that they're kind of similar. Like, 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 you know, yeah, like the other day that I went to an artist and I said, you know what? I can only tell you that my appreciation for the fact that you actually got it done, and me knowing what it takes to do that, not that I say I can do that, but at least I know what goes into it. Suddenly I build up an instant appreciation to you for your work as the artist that I am, the artist that I consider myself to be. So that's right there. You build bridges and safe and sound and stable ground that will give you a kind of a miniaturic eternity, give a guarantee and assurance. Don't worry, it's going to outlive you. What I'm giving you now, you can use it. It's going to outlive you. It's always going to be there for you. It's always going to be available. You can do that just by allowing yourself to realize, to feel certain things in order to come to kind of any realization that um, that you want to go back to the moments that you now know, because you see the results. They were based on certain realities, information, and things. So suddenly it makes sense. You go, you revisit, you kind of sail through it, and you really begin to understand that this is a process of widening your base, deepening and widening, and just a kind of the right amount, realizing this is essential, this is important, this is fortunate we're going through it. Now, guess what? Everything that I can come here and talk to you about or can do this morning, tomorrow, and many, many yesterdays is just a thing that is forming out of the fact that you found yourself actually painting, okay, painting in the surface, in the brushes, in the paint, in the moment where you just found yourself in front of that piano, knowing or not knowing exactly what this instrument is all about, but actually suddenly hearing yourself playing this wonderful symphony, or hearing yourself just like expressing unknowingness of the emptiest kind of thing, but the fingers are in action. This kind of, for people like us, this kind of engagement is instantly meaningful. So now people are not accustomed to kind of take a quick turn and look into what it is that you're doing, especially if it's artistic and creative, but also to realize how much has been achieved in such a short time. So it's called for kind of turn around and see and engage and say, "Whoa, hey, yeah," but and then you're still going forward. You kind of this is you can visualize all this and you can weigh it always against what it is that you're creating. I don't think I ever found myself in front of whatever zone of creation, whatever moment of truth that did not result every day, all the time, in something that was accomplished and concluded and say, well, okay, here's a friggin' sculpture that I just made now, or drawing or painting. A result of an artistic engagement on behalf of trying to cope with desires, and that desires that we all have all the time we all have, and some do something about it. So they join the celebration, they blend this, that, yeah. At first, it's got to be lovey-dovey, cliche, whatever. It's tough. In this world fails mainly because individuals don't want to have a fair share of that which is cliche and give me a break, so to speak. You got to go through it, good, get it over with, and find yourself on the other end, which happens to be where you already are. So you're realizing reality itself becomes a system, an independent system that says that chooses to care, chooses to choose to care for you and to do something about it all the time, not obsessively, all the time. Means every day. It means um, um, so you want to let me just check something here. Okay. So um, 2350. Okay. So and being based on the necessity to know the skills of survival, while being uh, um, based on maybe one or two major things, rather than a list of 100 different items where you got to be meticulous on how you go to preserve and conserve and and uh, and um, uh, and shelter, and and join forces together with. So especially with music, and I had the chance to listen to many many legends in the 80s and 90s in New York City. Was like unbelievable. Not that it's not now, unbelievable. I had the time of my life living in the east end of Long Island and just periodically going like 2 3 times a week to Manhattan, and all this heritage of jazz rock and fusion and just all this wonderful traditional jazz and blues, and going to New Orleans and going to festivals, doing all the clubs in New York City, doing all the major performances by artists that are just all the way from Steely Dan to Weather Report, to Return to Forever, to Chick Corea, to Zawinul, to drummers such as Billy Cobham and Steve Gadd and Marvin Smithy Smith and Peter Erskine and Dave Weckl, um, and um, just like a variety of and out of control abundance of creativity. So in those years, I, I was stuck with poetry because it was very painful for me to go through the day without doing something creative, like as far as being a part of the arts. So I I never thought of myself going with a pad and drawing and painting, whatever. It just didn't. It just felt like the easiest possible. Before iPhones and before iPads and all this was just like I used to take these kind of pads that were pocket size, and no matter what, I always found time to write something. So at the early stages, it was me writing a combinations of some things. And then I realized that okay, maybe it's time to kind of up the ante here and start really going, you know, start walking funny. Something needs to give. The world is going deeper and deeper into kind of a huge void that it will be impossible to get out of it. And you, as an artist, you want to you want to say, I'm gonna push forward with all this, so the world, if there are hundreds of thousands or millions like myself, we're safe at any given time. There's no way that there's going to be a sudden shift, either a mood, a thought, or just physically with something with planet Earth and whatever the immediate combinations. You're just kind of there in the most crucial moment, and you tilt it back, and then that tilt back into a temporary balance. That temporary balance is like 170 years you get out of it. We are in the thick of it, and we are so effective when you have the moment and you work and you walk the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and you kind of take a walk and you realize, oh, how lovely, so many benches, and you start walking towards the ocean all the way from the San Francisco University on Fulton Avenue. I mean, you're talking about joy, but you're talking about power. You're talking about pausing and sitting and relaxing and writing and writing and writing. And you're not a poet and you're not an author and you're not any of that. And yes, you indeed all of it combined all together. But yes or no, and in between, you're writing and you're writing and you're writing. And then you have a moment of respite when you completed your journey. You went and you walked about 40 blocks, and then the ocean, the Pacific, opens up in your face right there with all its glory and generosity. And you are actually kind of shaken by this this journey, this semi journey from San Francisco University, the edge of the Golden Gate Park, and going 40-45 blocks to the ocean. And it just felt like as if sometimes like it happens to us when we drive from point A to point B and we don't remember that we actually did that. Suddenly we are like almost there. So every bench, every sentence, every realization that aphorisms and proverbs do exist, and what is the power that they install within, and how is it that you find yourself natural in this environment, which to me happened. Many things happened to me regarding the shape that my artistic engagement is taking place is due to that, due to finding out suddenly this is what I have been doing for quite a while. It's just that I didn't know that it has a name or had a name. And yeah, it was important to me to understand not only that there is such a thing called an aphorism, but what kind of composition it reveals when you get to understand its structure and get the manual in order to become a friend of it, to be able to walk along with it, to allow the process of the deciphering period. And yes, let us let us enjoy a realization a day. It's okay, even though we're going to end up at some point with 350 different realizations every day and not feel any different or any. Of course, we will be benefit from. If your business is to wake up in the morning and saying yes, uh, with the full recollection of what took the day before. Uh, Nothing scientific, mathematic, just the pure ability to understand something wonderful happened yesterday. And then you look around and you start seeing evidence of it. Like my dear friend Ale Kaminsky, um, Ronnie Kempinski. Yes, my dear friend. God bless his soul. He used to tell me your your education, because we talked about, he was an archaeologist, and he did his master's and PhD at, I don't know, age 29. He completed it and wrote wonderful essays and books and you name it, and history and whatnot, and always told me about, there's so much they can take away from you, but they cannot take your education away from you. They cannot, unless they. But there was something very basic coming from a genius, coming from a smart person, coming from an experienced person, coming from a person that wants to tell you, to take it seriously, what it is that I'm trying to communicate here with you. A couple of sentences here, a couple of sentences there. Take your time, inhale, relate to it, let it filter again, let it come through again and again. It's there. It's there. It's not necessarily that if every time somebody gives you something that's supposed to expedite the process of reaching that goal, that destination that you actually want to reach, aim to reach, and a a business as usual and a reality of greatness constantly unfolding. I mean, give me a break. If you want to be cliche, if I want to be cliche and tolerate that which is cliche, let us at least operate on the highest level of that reality, so it won't be too painful, and it doesn't stop you or slows you down from creating. There is no justification to pause unnecessarily, and also to be able to do all these things and not think that you're like haywired and obsessed and hyper energy. And no, it will do the job for you, reducing it to the right amount, not the right amount, to where reality is a part of what makes sense for you. How wonderful is that? We used to slave half of our lives just to get to that point, and here we're giving that, ready to go, good to go by Mother Nature, because that's the way it is now. Everything and everybody know better. They know better this time. What time? I don't know. This time of ours, whether it's the third time, the 17th time, or the first time, or the second time. But when you come out of this whatever semi coma, um, you take a quick look around and you already realize that you're safe, because there's so much around that wasn't there before you went into your period of coma and came back to this life. Hello, hello. And then you realize, okay, there's something to look forward to. There's something to know that is being added, that almost guarantees us a level of surety that a little more than what happened last year will happen this year. And then there's just a fortification, uh, an additional, very, very tempting fortification, um, pastelish, appealing, all this kind of things that make you feel safe and comfortable and satisfied. That's and I, I will never say last, not even last, but not least, but just to kind of wrap it, have that flexibility to never get to a point where you're really on an edge and that it happens suddenly, and you know that no matter what reply, what reaction, there's a price to be paid because it's not going to be anything close to perfect. When you're caught, you're caught. It's like a backgammon, and suddenly you realize you're losing double. Suddenly you realize there's more than just losing. There's losing double, triple. It's like now you're talking about being put to shame. You this that symbol that is there. Okay, so anyway, this is it might be very confusing, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a realistic position in a world that spells action and adventure and seeking and researching and curiosity and um, dramatic and mysterious and complex and yielding and yielding and yielding and offering and observing and appreciating and acknowledging, and hand in hand with a supervision and mind you, remember this is something that comes from within, from yourself to yourself, for yourself, towards yourself. It's like, yes, again, the cliche aspect of a loop. Okay, okay, we got that, and it's going against the clock direction movement. So so if you go like this, um, as a drummer, it's very easy to change it before it even starts, because if you go choose the one going backwards, is realizing the one that happens to be a syncopation in the real world. So so the one becomes, and then the so if you can figure that, you really, and you happen to be an artist, a painter also, and you want to say, well, you know what, I want to bring this together, I want to see how it's going to blend, I want to see how it's going to affect, add, contribute, attribute, and you insist, because ideas and thoughts like that come to many, many, many people. It's just that they're not accustomed to the fact that actually this can be implemented right now, right now, right now, right now, right now, right now, immediately. So I don't even remember how exactly it formed itself, even though if I was to think about it deeply, I would come up with an answer. But I don't know if it's worth it to go that deep. I'm just looking at my understanding today and how far I can reach a reality at its different stages and change its course, influence its course, affect its course, only so it can suit an implementation of new information. You're a changed person. And only an hour ago, it wasn't even a factor. You weren't even aware of it. It didn't even happen yet. So, falling between the cracks is where heaven resides for us artists. Falling between the cracks, between the lines. Those gaps are absolutely unachievable if you were to try and, on your own behalf, independently, find yourself in one of them. No, you've been thrown into it and found yourself falling between the cracks and the lines, or whatever you want to call it, and you're in heaven. And you fooled the world. You fooled the world. And because you're the person that I described you to be, you are friggin' a monster in creating. You create like a monster. You just spread your talent and your capabilities all over the place. And mind you, you're still alone. You're still in your own shrine, your own studio, your own protective environment. This is where things happen. This is where people will review and enjoy and be and feel impressed and appreciative by the results of those pieces that will end up at some point there on those walls that people so love to examine and to be a part of. So you're talking about you're still in the studio and you can still continue to make a fool of yourself if you wanted to. No one is observing, no one is judging, no one is there to take notes, nothing. You are just like, okay. So even if we were to say that we have done enough to secure this world and give it a 200 years of nothing to worry about, and that no matter what will happen, it will always be stabilized enough to keep on going and to thrive and to behave and to act and to perform as planet Earth, as nature, as galaxies, as all of the above is actually taking place. And I wanted to find the horizon that I can envision, but cannot even get close to find a way for me to portray it on the surface the way I wanted. So I'm dwelling in the remnants of that inferiority or weakness, exposure, um, deficiency, and rightfully so. You find yourself in a point where that emptiness cannot just be pretended as if it's anything more than it is, which it can be sometimes just to pretty much be nothing. And lucky for us that we can look around and see how people are passionate about and jealous for that precious space, time, opportunity, availability, exposure, always trying to come together and feel comfortable with in externalizing. It's like it's like so from the painting that's gonna be there, and then you're kind enough to kind of hint to it that you're gonna get, at some point you're gonna spend a little more time there with him to bring it really closer to fruition. And then you really, 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 like, I mean, for example, it's almost like I manage sometimes to feel like Gertrude Stein, the poet. I mean, it's like I read her poetry and it was like, whoop a bum. Yeah. And then I looked at her picture and I said, I would have never. It's like, it's amazing how you think, oh, does he look like an artist or does he look like a lawyer? Does he look like a. Maybe yes, maybe not, but it's like she just looked. I just when I saw her picture, it was like, yes, indeed, yes, definitely. And I read her poetry, and it's like, whoop-a-bum. And it's so alternative and so disconcerting and so ignoring of what's around or not around. It's just a, one of a kind self-expression capabilities. And I'm there and I say, yeah, you know what, Gertrude, I really know how difficult was this easiness of yours to write it. I know the difficulty of that simplicity that erupted from within you, and you wonderful. You managed to put it on the page and say, okay, I also captured it. So lucky you, lucky for you. I'm going to make it available. So this exposure of self in the hands of people like us, forget about it. I wish I could converse with whatever, whatever. So many names, doesn't matter. I can give you all the names that each one of you would know, musicians and artists and poets and writers and athletes and whatnot. Um, and tell her that I, she taught me that I can adapt, that I'm capable of adapting. I mean, do you know how much that is that a person can give you, especially if it's like kind of instantly? Didn't took long after I felt what I felt when I encountered and opened and exposed myself to her poetry. Yeah, I was like, I didn't even have time to appreciate it appropriately. It's already giving you results of implementations, conclusions, uh, um, finding accurate the definitions, you know, building up a level of trust between that the immediacy of the moment because it's so elusive, you know. I never bothered to understand why it's so elusive. I just know that maybe I should respect it for being so elusive. Some kind of a capability, a, a quality of, but then you find a way to not to catch it, but to catch with it, catch up. Okay, not to catch it, but to catch up, and then suddenly you realize that all the understanding is coming to you by way of being able to adapt, those skills of adaptation, and and then you feel different. You feel more relaxed. The higher you go, the more intense you become. You're kind of more relaxed, or relaxed, the same, just the same, and there's no room to understand that actually you venture from clicheism to expressionism to imperialism to surrealism to modern to conservative to modern to conservative to realism, visualism, figuralism, Gregorism, visualism, and you're all over the stages and you cross implementing and you glide and you groan and you hover and you glide again and you swerve and you come back and you flip and you're high and you're low, you pressure, you that, and you view wide angle. And then the wide angle is there, like the wide angle is there, fixed, staring you in the eye, fixed, so ready to go, or should I say, so ready for you to go. So it's like, I mean, are you kidding me? This is the epitome of happiness. And yeah, and it sounds cliche. It really sounds cliche, doesn't it? It's like a little painful, a little, but nothing wrong with the over consume, sort through, process whatever is the consumption, and then of course whatever is going this way out, and this which will stay to be re-estimated, and you know already at the early stages that you are going to do okay, that there's a good reason to believe that tomorrow would spell that you're actually already on the next zone, and all of these wonderful favors, and inspiring moments that will be waiting for you there will be hard earned in the most decent fashion on behalf of your kind of instinctive little perfect plan of yours. And that in very weird fashion actually found calamity and calmness and calamity into calmness. Fantastic. Now, to say that you're, let's see, who's trying to bother me now? Yeah. So, wait, I actually, here we go. So, I think that actually exchanged enough information with you for the last 55 minutes. So I'm just going to say, hey, we are delighted to know that you're out there watching us. We're delighted to know that we're actually here doing what we're doing. And to mention again, this coming Friday, May 10th, 3 to 7, this coming Friday, May 10th, 3 to 7, Matt Reiner, a wonderful artist, is going to show about almost 35 to 40 paintings of his. They have been curated with the help of Chris Lecoeur, my friend, and it's going to be an opening. It's going to be wild, and it's going to be great, and the art is exquisite, and it's so much that I'm sure you will have. You will be enjoying it coming in. In the same token, we're going to continue with our endeavor of group art exhibitions that we have, as we've been doing it for the last 26, 27, 28 years almost. So we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning, precious morning, Monday morning, May 6th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good spirits, and we don't take it for granted, all these wonderful things that you're doing and being such a devoted listener and supporter of LTV. God bless. And by the way, we are in Wayne Scott, 75 Industrial Road. I hope to see you this coming Friday.